Packers Nation, Packers on the Rocks is back for episode 4. Fans, I know you were expecting, along with myself and everybody else, this to be the back on track and right the ship game. I'm afraid it was just really a carry on from last week, and everybody's probably coming to this one feeling ill. We'll actually have a physically ill co-pilot over here on the other end, but nonetheless, he's persevering through it. And let's go ahead and get this one started. Cheers, Dave.
Yeah, cheers, bud. Yeah, that get back track we're now completely off the tracks.
Not yet. I don't, and tell you what, I don't want to stick a fork in them just yet. I'm holding out. Things could get incredibly ugly this upcoming Sunday, but I don't know. I see glimpses of it enough, and probably a good opportunity for us to start with, once again, the offense, the core of the problem, and where everything seems to start and die.
Yeah, it was guys running wrong routes, guys dropping passes, missed throws, not being able to hit a flat route, handing the ball off to Aaron Jones 8 times, even though we're, presser after presser. Got to give our best player the ball more. Well, you gave him to the least amount of times you have all year. So only plus side is the offensive line.
Tell you what, I was actually going to cheers the 8 touches for Aaron Jones. It felt like a lot between that and the catches that he had in the flats when he was completely covered and then buried in the backfield for like a 3-yard loss. So they did. I'm not gonna lie. I think they did a little bit better job of getting him involved. If anything, and I just went back and rewatched the tape. The whole entire first half, as LaFleur says, they're behind the sticks. There was literally 3 drives where they got into second 20, and this team has no sort of deep threat to it. So when they get into second or third and longs, you might as well just roll O'Donnell out there and try to pin him deep.
Yeah, the penalties, the 3-4 yard losses, carries. It was always a get back on track type situation, and they just kept digging themselves hole after hole after hole. And when you're not worried about anyone beating you deep, you got that 2-shell look, and you're like, okay, just throw it 4 yards and we'll come up and make the tackle. And so Rodgers, with how slow start, bad thumb, is just throwing it high and low, and guys are not being able to make football moves and get upfield. They're just trying to basically hang on to the ball for dear life at this point.
And he's force-feeding Aaron Jones in the flats, and these passes are coming in like Jordan Love during the preseason, like an absolute bullet to him that he's a tough time getting his hands on. There's a defender waiting there for him. And then I think of like another pass where Amari Rodgers is going to catch some flack for this one, that one deep in the fourth quarter on their second to last drive where it's, on his outstretched fingertips. They put that on Amari. I think if Rodgers gives him a better ball, he's walking in for a touchdown.
Yeah, there's a lot of people upset on social media about Amari on that, but I think it was just compounded by him making mistakes earlier in the game. That just is a better ball by Rodgers, and it's a walk-in. Although who knows if Amari holds on to it either way if it's a better ball, but still. Yeah.
On simplistic state, and you brought up, hey, let's focus on the bright spots here in our offensive line, which played well. When we think about simplicity in this offense, has it now reverted to check downs in the flats, this RPO to Lazard, and then just these quick wide receiver outs with a couple of other wide receivers, trips left or trips right blocking for him? Is that what our simplistic offense has turned into? Oh, and let me add one more play to that. The pitch to Aaron Jones going outside with a guard pulling.
Yeah, hey, that works though.
It does work. It gets us like 6 to 8 yards a clip.
We're pretty rudimentary right now, right? I mean, we don't have really anyone that can stretch the field, and you're talking about Christian Watson coming back, but Christian Watson's just kind of the jet sweep motion guy. Yeah, we're in trouble, and you're noticing defenses playing us accordingly. Like, okay, no one's gonna beat us deep. We're just gonna you guys are gonna have to go 12 plays to score a touchdown. Like that's kind of how it's been. So I mean, and then what was your make of the offensive line? Because you talked a lot about this a little bit before the game because you heard Jimmy Johnson say, "Oh, there's going to be a rookie left tackle," and you said, "Oh, Jimmy Johnson is high as a kite right now. He doesn't know who Yash Hyman is."
Oh God. I thought Jimmy Johnson was having like a Terry Bradshaw moment. And we all know Terry Bradshaw can be able to have some like senile moments where dementia's kicking in and he'll try to do his 8-game 1-minute highlights all in one and he's mumbling halfway through it. Jimmy Johnson said that. I texted you. I'm like, I think Fox doesn't know exactly what they're talking about. But no, sure enough, Zach Tom at left tackle, he was not kidding about a rookie getting his first start at left tackle. The thing that like surprised me the most is for Zach Tom, I mean, we've been asking for Newman to grab some pine for the longest time now. And all of us Packer fans, I'm sure, can be able to agree that Zach Tom is better than Newman. And we refused to put Zach Tom in there at that right guard spot. And Newman just kept getting on skates. So, like, what I don't understand is you won't put him in at right guard, but for his very first career start in the NFL, you're going to put him at the hardest position on the offensive line. Like, what is up with that, LaFleur and Steno and everybody else?
So I think it's twofold. I think one of it is that if there's going to be a guy they rotate, it's going to be Bach and Tom. They want to get Yash settled in at right tackle. They want to get Jenkins settled in at left guard. So then you flip JRJ over to right guard. And then if Bach can go, Bach plays a left tackle. If Bach can't go, you play Tom. It's just an in and out, like a 1-for-1 switch instead of constantly rotating a bunch of guys. The other thing I noticed during the game was Lewis was on Tom's side a lot of the time. So they're chipping with Lewis. So you have arguably the best blocking tight end in the NFL helping out Zach Tom. But I thought Tom held up fine. I think this was the best offensive line played all year. Like, I have nothing wrong with it. It's just the actual playmakers on the team, like, they got nothing rolling. Rodgers is clean all game.
Yeah, the offensive line did probably look the best they have all game. And I don't know if I'd want to discredit them whatsoever, but Rodgers also got rid of the ball within like 1.5 seconds every single snap. So, I mean, I hope that you can be able to hold up for a half a second. The other thing I thought of too, so I watched Sunday Night Football and Tua and then Pickett play. And it was literally all game long that I just saw Tua drop back to pass over the middle for a 12-yard gain, over the middle to Waddle, or over the middle to Tyreek Hill. He literally had at least 12 to 15 passes over the middle. So that makes me think, it goes back to Jimmy's and Joe's or X's and O's. Is Rodgers just missing some sort of like burner speed receiver to get over the middle? Or is it a matter of like X's and O's? What I don't get is, why is it that Tua is able to just dissect a defense and do the same play over and over again, but we struggle just being able to get a first down at this point?
I don't think anyone realized how big of a transition this offseason truly was organizationally. But like, it is maddening, right? To be like, look at other NFL games and see wide receivers and tight ends and running backs just go wide open and the quarterback hit them and be like, oh, wow, that's an easy 30-yard gain. Meanwhile, we're throwing 4-yard passes at our wide receivers' feet and then being like, what the fuck are we doing?
Which, case in point, happened in the game yesterday with Rodgers looking over the sideline, bitching up for, and his pass was at Dobbs' ankle, and he's wondering why he dropped
it. It's a lot of young guys, and then it's kind of also smashing your head against the wall, being like, okay, if you have young guys on the outside, hand it off 30 times a game. But it's either LaFleur doesn't want to do it, Rodgers is canning it, or Rodgers leading up to the week saying, I don't want to do that. It's one of 3 options, because you have 2 bell cows behind you. Just, you got the broken thumb, do the Brett Favre left hand handoff and hand it off 30 times a game.
And then you can still do the Brett Favre, after you hand off, fake the throw to the right, the pump fake that he always used to do. And yeah, it's mind-boggling at this point why it is that way. And like the other thought based upon that is what I noticed going back and rewatching the game is Jones will start to get going. He'll get those, now pitch plays going off of Nyman's side or some other sort of zone run play. Dylan, which he's one of those backs where he needs the ball quite a bit to be able to get going. But anyways, it's like you do start to see Jones, get these 6 or 8 yard carries or get him into the flats, and he'll pick up, give you like a second or third and short. Thing is, though, and that's why I'm going to go with your option 3, that when Rodgers is getting paid $50 million a year, he will not and he let it happen for the Bears game, but he will not just let the offense flow through Aaron Jones. He needs to have it come into his hands. So what I see is Aaron Jones will get these 8-yard runs, but then Aaron Rodgers is going to want to do an under center, play action bootleg and, chuck the ball downfield or end up missing somebody that's wide open running down the field.
You want to know your crazy stat of the day? Aaron Rodgers is leading the NFC in touchdown passes.
Should I fact check you on that?
You can absolutely fact check.
He's leading the NFC in touchdown passes?
Correct. Rodgers has 11 touchdown passes and is leading the NFC in touchdown passes.
Well, I don't care if he's leading the NFL because
it doesn't get you anything.
I'm pointing the finger at him and LaFleur. Just keep with the ground game.
If I'm Jair, if I'm Douglas, if I'm Campbell, if I'm Clark, I'm like, yo, you guys gotta help us because we're running marathons out on defense. Like we're constantly out there. Douglas had the game of his season so far. Campbell had the game of his season so far. You get a free 7 points on defense. Could have had possibly 14 points on defense, but that's here or there. Like the defense held their own at a certain point. Like everyone's complaining about Barry and the defense. Like you try being out there for 70 snaps and the defense, and the offense going 3 and out every single time and being like, oh, okay, they just had a 12-play, ended in a field goal, 8-minute drive. Oh, okay, the offense goes out 3 and out. Oh, defense, you guys, nice 45-second break. Get back out there. Like, it's tough.
It is. I mean, I know you just pulled the Rodgers leads the NFC in touchdowns. I'd also now wonder if off the top of your head, I mean, thinking back to our scores, defense hasn't allowed more than 24 points a game besides the Vikings, right? If you can hold a team to 17 or 20 points, you should be able to win those games. And it's not only are you getting gas, but also confidence wise, or I would just say frustration. It's you guys just had us out here when we gave you the ball back, and now you're going to do this once again.
On top of that, they got a free 3 points off of our special teams mishap. So
I'll say 20 points. You should be able to win that NFL game against a backup QB.
So we're not playing complementary football. It's been offense can't stay on the field. Defense has been solid until they literally have nothing left in the tank. And then special teams, it's a roller coaster. Special teams, it's either O'Donnell is booming it inside their 5-yard line, or Amari Rodgers is giving it to him at our 20.
I at least want to call out a few players on defense, the ones that stood out to me. Going back and watch tape, Rasuuuul, along with Jair in that first half. I mean, they were on the money. The only thing is, though, that I think they inherited Eric Stokes' paddle arms, or paddles for hands, because neither of those two could be able to catch a cold, and they had balls right in their mitts the whole entire first half.
I think it was 3 or 4 missed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Quay showed up again. He was missing in action for a few weeks. I thought Quay actually had a good game, and I thought Barry had a good plan for Quay with actually sending him. He almost got home a few times and definitely brought, QB felt the pressure. And then I can't really knock the defense anymore. We used to be knocking them, but I mean, there's guys that showed out, and the defense played well enough to win.
I'll give you one flaw right here, and I don't think we talk about him enough. Bane Gary, he impacted not only that one touchdown to Devondre Campbell, he was right in Heineke's face. Then even that second one to Rasuuuul where he picked up, that was a forced fumble that he picked up. So as great as Bane Gary is on the pass rush, when I went back and rewatched the game, he gets sucked inside on the run
Yeah.
way too much and does not seal the edge. Where Preston, I think, has done an amazing job of it. He actually had 2 tackles for losses when they were in at his side, trying to, stretch the outside. But I don't know if it's just this game, but I think there's been others too that Bane is guilty of allowing them to be able to get those outside runs.
Enoch Barre is coming on, dude. Also, like he's promising.
We might actually have a third pass rusher.
He's starting to come on. I'm not worried about the defense. It's just, man, we're 3-4, looking at 3-5. I have a really bad feeling we're gonna get boat raced next week.
Before looking on to the Buffalo, we at least have to touch upon the guy that is job's kind of on the line right now. Amari Rodgers. What are you doing with him, Dave?
Oh boy, it's twofold, right? It's LaFleur or their decision to roll him out there at this point. Maybe we don't have a better returner. Maybe they've seen it in practice. LaFleur mentioned it. Oh man, he's doing great in practice. Well, the 3 hours of game tape I've seen week after week does not support what you guys are watching. But sure, he's doing great in practice. Okay, good job. Good job.
That's what really matters here. That's what's most important.
So it's LaFleur, but then it's also Gutey. It's Gutey's 3rd round pick, but it's Gutey's job to go out and be like, let's look at free agency, like who's on the street. Let's look at guys on the practice squad. Well, let's make some calls. Maybe I could give a 7th round pick to someone and do like a Swervin Urban type deal. It's his job to bring someone in, but I don't think Gutey wants to let Amari go because it's his 3rd round treasure, and it's LaFleur's incompetence of just keep rolling him out there. Like, I had this sinking feeling that he was going to muff that punt. Like, it's not even like, it's like, just catch it at this point. I don't care if you get 4 yards, fair catch it every time. Just don't put it on the ground.
I had that feeling too. It's almost like things were going a little bit too good. And I thought, we're about ready to go up by a couple scores here, maybe more, and get back to the old Packer way of football. No, we're going to get brought right back down to earth. And even like speaking of Gutey, like what he's probably up right now as we speak. Is he making calls? I mean, he's busy. He's not only got to make calls about a potential punt returner, but also is he making calls about a wide receiver, or is he just cashing it in with 7 days left until free agency is up?
I don't think
the trade deadline, that is.
Yeah, I don't think we make a call at wide receiver. I just don't. I think he wants his guys out there. I think he wants his guys getting experience. The wide receiver or the punt kick returner thing, I could actually see happening because that might like affect you in future years of like, okay, maybe I could snag a guy and he's still under contract for 2 or 3 years, and Amari isn't a wide receiver. Amari's not a kick or punt returner. He already lost his kick return job to Nixon. So I think Gutey wants his guys that he drafted getting experience at wide receiver, but I think it's time to cut the cord with Amari.
So who the hell are we rolling out this upcoming Sunday night to when we're up in Buffalo? Who are our wide receivers? There's no way Lazard's to go with his bum wing.
Lazard's not. It'll be, oh, good Lord. It'll be probably, well, maybe Watson goes. If not, it'll be Dobbs, Watkins, Torrey.
Is this like circa 2016, divisional playoff game against the Cardinals, and Jared Abbrederis is our 2?
You can't call up Winfrey again unless you want to activate him to the 53 and then cut him. Winfrey already had all of his call-ups.
I wasn't aware of that. I mean, things are bleak now at wide receiver. And you talk about a boat race for this upcoming Sunday Night Football. Rodgers said in the press conference, these are the things I love about him. What I hate about him is that he talks about all these mental miscues, and he puts the blame on everybody else besides himself with missing, wide open receivers and throwing it at people's ankles. But what I do love about him, and somebody had asked him if it's plausible for the run the table, but he's like, hey, this might be the worst thing or the best thing that's happened to us with the position that they're in, and everybody's counting us out to go into Buffalo. That's when I know Rodgers is at his most deadliest. But is he in over his head then, heading into Sunday Night Football, coming up against I would go ahead and crown him Super Bowl champions?
So I have 2 plans for you that can actually make this work. We either put Jones in the slot and put Dillon in the backfield. Just make Jones a wide receiver all game.
Yeah, why can't we do the jet motions with him and also get Dillon out there against the Bears, the play in my head where you got Dillon out there as the lead fullback, and then you got a jet sweep with
I don't know. It just came to me. Pay me $1.5 million a year and I'll be the new Hackett. All right, that's all I could say. The other point is you sit Rodgers, you roll out Love, and you have a Matt Flynn game in New England. We lost it, but that's another plausible scenario.
Hopefully not Dan Connolly, running a 60-yard kickback.
That's still the greatest play ever.
As an offensive lineman. I think back to that Cardinals game last year where Devontae Adams was out, and we basically had Juwan Winfrey as our wide receiver one. And Aaron Jones was featured from, opening kickoff to the end of that game. And I can't recall if he was the slot receiver in that game, but it's the same thing as against the Commanders. You get a little bit of a taste of them, but then Rodgers nah, I'm gonna put this on my back once again and see what we can be able to make of it.
So I have a question for you. What makes a wide receiver number one? Is it the targets he gets, or is it the coverage, the respected coverage that they give? If they give you your cornerback one against your wide receiver, is that your wide receiver one, or is it just based on the targets? Because Lazard is a great complementary piece, but Lazard's not a wide receiver one. So
what is that Rodgers said he does not want to be a part of a rebuild, and as smart as he is, he's I don't want to be a part of a rebuild this year. Well, you might be looking at one, and he seemed to convince us that he had the tools in the toolbox to get it done. To me, what a wide receiver one is now, Devontae Adams is absolute a bona fide one, but it's when you get into these second 20s or third and longs, your wide receiver one is going to consistently get open, and he's going to be your go-to guy to be able to, pick up the sticks. It's the Jordy Nelson. It's the back shoulder fades. It's the Greg Jennings. I'll say the bourbon must be hitting a little bit stronger here today, but it's the Greg Jennings post routes. It's the guy who can consistently get open, and when you need a first down, he's going to get it for you. Lazard complimentary, yes, but wide receiver one, I don't see it. I didn't even see it going into this year.
Yeah, and we're probably another year away from actually, whether it's Watson or Dobbs, I'd probably see it going into week 4 or 5 of next year until one of those truly emerges. It's going to be a slow process, but whether Rodgers is going to be paid $60 million next year, so obviously he's going to stick around and figure it out. But I don't see us trading for anyone, and I doubt we go wide receiver first round next year. I don't even want to look that far ahead, but there's a lot of holes on this team.
But can't Rodgers retire? I mean, theoretically, can he retire after this year? He's basically on a 1-year deal. Where I told you before this, he's doing all these podcasts. I think that's his way of farewell. Yeah, that's his farewell and saying goodbye to the NFL and starting to look ahead to what lies next.
I think if he retires, the Packers are still on the hook for something like $15 or $16 million cap hit next year, and then $24 million the year after, based on signing bonus and stuff. I think that's how it breaks. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's high teens next year, and then it's like low 20s the year after on cap hit on Rodgers, whether we trade him or he retires.
That and our bum knee left tackle as well.
Yeah, there's been some tough contracts that have just killed us. Like
we got Bane Gary's coming up too.
it's Bakhtiari was one where I feel terrible for Bach because that was like he was number one left tackle in the league, and the Packers almost never give out third contracts to offensive linemen, but they did to Bach, and then he gets hurt, and it's just been terrible ever since. With his health and all that stuff, and then Rodgers, the old saying goes, better a year early than a year too late, but the Packers are really good at that, except for when it comes to quarterback. Like, same thing. How not? I mean, Favre thing was a whirlwind, but Rodgers, you'd think you get more than what Russ got for. And it's just, there's been a lot of tough things. I mean, Jair is the highest paid corner in the league, and we're not utilizing him.
And he's still human. He still gets beat. What I just hope it doesn't happen, and we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. We got 2 minutes before Zoom kicks us off. I just sure hope Rodgers doesn't leave on bad terms, and potentially where we're in. This is I still want to approach it week by week, but I don't want to be in a situation where we're in week 14 and beyond, and we're starting Jordan Love just to be able to see what we have there, and Aaron Rodgers is healthy and sitting on the bench. I would just hate for as much good as he's done for this organization for that to happen and to leave on like a sour note, similar to Favre, even though I don't think he's going to quite get to the way Favre departed.
Yeah. I don't think they do that. Like the only way Love starts this year is if Rodgers gets hurt. Like I don't see a thing where they say, Rodgers, you're healthy, they're paying him $50 million this year. Like even if they're mathematically eliminated, I think Rodgers is still starting.
It's hard to say.
It is hard.
My crystal ball doesn't tell me what goes on then, but we know the fragility of Rodgers, and some sort of injury does crop up each year where maybe they're like, "Hey, Rodgers, let's take a couple of weeks off and let yourself heal," and we get to see the Love show.
We're 3-4. We're gonna climb back into it. We're gonna. We'll see what happens next week, but for the meantime, we're gonna ride out the year. It'll just be trying times, my man.
I think we got a shot this Sunday.
It'll be a great Monday when we come back and resume this time.
Geno Smith said everybody's writing me off, but I haven't wrote back.
I like it. All right, man. Till next week, bud.
Cheers, even though there's nothing left in this glass.
Cheers, buddy.